Hi everyone, I'm Laura and welcome to Living on Cruise Control, where a year ago I left the corporate grind to pursue my dream of living full-time on cruise ships. Every single day I am hearing from people either on the Star Princess, where I am right this minute, we are actually parked in Belize, or from comments on my YouTube videos or Facebook groups of people that are having so many issues booking dining reservations prior to getting on the ship and even when they get on the ship. And I'm here to tell you all the things that I've learned. I've been cruising now full time on Princess cruise ships mostly. I went on one Holland America cruise earlier in the year, but I've been exclusively on Princess cruise ships since January and have learned a lot about not only the tips and tricks of the different dining venue options on these ships, but also the challenges that people are having right now with trying to book reservations. And I'm going to specifically talk about the Star Princess because that's where I'm hearing the most issues and challenges from other cruisers, but these tips and advice would really apply to other cruise lines and other cruise ships. So let's start with the options that you have available, and then I'm going to talk through my personal experience, especially the challenges that I had here when I first got on the Star Princess, and the things that I'm hearing from other people. There's a few things that you can do. So I do recommend that you book reservations. And I say this because if you are like more than two people, it is hard to walk into a restaurant and all be able to be seated, right? If you're 6 people, 8 people, I've seen parties of 16 people that are either cruising as a group or a family. You definitely want to have reservations so that you're not waiting and wasting time waiting in line when you could be doing other things as part of your vacation, right? There's so many things going on and events and activities or just relaxing that you don't want to be wasting a lot of time standing in line. So I do highly recommend that you make reservations. Now, you can have some spots like a breakfast or lunches where maybe you're just going to go to a main dining room or order room service or go to the eatery or the Americana, etc., or just go grab something pretty quickly. And absolutely. But for your dinner reservations, it is recommended by me that you do make your reservation. You can go on the app. So you do want to download the Princess app before you go on the cruise. Honestly, as soon as you have everything booked and paid for, you should be able to set up and download the app and log into it. I will do a video on the Princess app of all the steps and things to do, like a how-to guide for the app. So stay tuned for that. I will work on that shortly. But in the meantime, you can make your reservations through the app. What I found is when I was trying to make reservations for this ship, and I was just starting with the first few sailings, every time I went in to make a reservation, it said that there were no reservations available. And it was super frustrating because I just didn't have time to keep looking up one restaurant at a time, at a certain date, at a certain time. Everywhere I looked, even the 9 p.m. and 5 p.m. slots were filled. And I figured I would just make the reservations when I got on the ship. So that's not 100% recommended. If you can, try to do them on the app well in advance. Even if you're not sure what nights or what time or what restaurants you might want to go to, try to map that out because it's a lot easier to cancel your reservations when you're on the cruise itself than it is to try to make them when all the spots are filled. That's what I'm finding is happening, that the spots are filled. And even people with Premier that have paid for specialty dining can't even get a dinner reservation at one restaurant. So let me keep telling you a little bit more about your other options and the ways to get around this. So the next thing that you can do is there's a Dine Line. There's a dining phone number that you can dial when you're not on the ship. So this is a phone number. Be prepared to be put on hold. I've been put on hold the few times that I've tried this. When you get through to the Dine Line, have a list of exactly what you want. so that they can make those reservations for you. You're going to want to know the restaurant that you want to go to, on which day, at which time, and for how many people. So have those things ready to go, because you don't just want to call for one reservation and then have to start all over again. The goal is to try to get the entire cruise reservations completed all at one time with one phone call. So that would be my next recommendation. If you did not or choose not to make those reservations ahead of time, there's a few things that you can do when you get on the ship. My first recommendation would be, as soon as you get on, do your muster station tasks. Always do that first. Watch the video. You can watch it on your phone. Watch the video and go to your mustard station. Just get that out of the way. Then you don't have to think about it. So do that first. The second thing you should do is go to either the main dining rooms or the specialty restaurants. And I found that you can go to any of them. So go to Rudy's, go to Crown Grill, go to the Aurora main dining room, and see if they have a hostess or a manager available to help you make your reservations. Again, I recommend that you have a list printed or on your phone notes of where you want to go and at what time. Because if you go in there with no idea of what you want, it's hard for them to help you make those reservations. And you will have most likely stood in line with people standing in line behind you. So try to come in prepared. I'm building a Star Princess, Sun Princess, Discovery, Enchanted, all the ships that I've been on, a complete food tour and food review of every venue, hours of operation, location, is there a cost, the food recommendations, copies of the menu, and putting all of that together in a series specific to each ship, high level food overview and tour, and then a deep dive into each location. So if you're wanting to know more about what your options are, which ones that you think you would like more, as it's impossible to go to 30 restaurants and try every food item that's available. There's so much. Feel free to review those videos. I'll put links in the description at the end of this video for you to kind of do a deeper research ahead of time so that you know exactly, where you want to go each day. So go to those venues in person. I find that to be the quickest way to get your reservations made. If that's not an option, you can always dial the Dine Line from your cabin. It's 5555. But I find the Dine Line is harder to get through than the outside phone number. And I get put on hold. I was put on hold once for an hour and I finally hung up. It's not always that bad. I think this was maybe the first or second day, but I don't feel like the Dine Line is as effective to me. Again, just my experience. You might have a different experience, but dialing the Dine Line has been very difficult. I feel like going to the restaurants when you get on board or trying to book them well in advance are going to be your better options. Now, keep in mind that if you decide to cancel a reservation, if you cancel main dining room reservation, there's no cost, right? Even no shows, there's no cost. Try to cancel so they can open up that spot. But usually 10 to 15 minutes after your reservation, if you're not there, they're going to put somebody else at that table. But try to cancel if you can. If you do cancel a specialty restaurant reservation, you want to do that at least 24 hours ahead of time. So always be thinking about like the next day or two. Even if you have Premier, unlimited specialty dining perk, you will get charged $10 a person. Now, I haven't had this happen yet, but I don't cancel within 24 hours very often. I've maybe done it once or twice, but it does say that you will get charged $10 a person, and you don't want to be paying for a restaurant experience that you never attended when you already paid for Premier. If you do reserve a table at any of the specialty restaurants and need to cancel over 24 hours before the reservation to avoid any of those extra fees. You don't want to be wasting money on that. So my experience, I do want to share with you. When I first got on the Star Princess, it was a 3-day inaugural journey out of Fort Lauderdale, and it was packed. It was full ship, and there were a lot of people, a lot of press. There were travel agents, YouTubers, everybody seemed to really want to get on the ship for its first sailing out of the US, and it was packed. And I was not able to make any dinner reservations for this entire 4 months ahead of time. I figured I would just do it when I got on the ship. Well, I went to one of the specialty restaurants, stood in line. By the time I got up to the front, they said there were no reservations available. You couldn't even get on the waiting list. I said, I'll take the 5 p.m., I'll take the 9 p.m., put me at any restaurant. I just want to be able to start having the experience so I can start reviewing and putting together some videos for you guys. Couldn't get in. Said, please come back. The next 5-day sailing shouldn't be as busy. Come back on the first day and we'll get you booked. I said, great. So I came back the next 3 days later, stood in line again for another 45 minutes, got to the front of the line, was told the same thing. There's nothing we can do for the next 5 days. There's nothing available. There's a lot of VIPs on board and we're not going to be able to get you in. Now, I wasn't really happy with that. I'm a solo traveler and I never have dessert or cocktails. I'm in and out. I know the menus. I know what I want. I'm pretty low maintenance and I just need a table for 30 to 45 minutes in and out. And there wasn't one spot at any restaurant at any time slot for the next 5 days. And I was pretty frustrated, to be honest. It's not the end of the world, obviously, but I just felt like what's going to happen this entire 4 months, I'm not going to be able to get one restaurant reservation. That didn't seem right. And it didn't seem like the Princess way of making sure that its guests are happy, which is why I love this cruise line so much, is I feel the service is phenomenal. So I wound up going to guest services. The line wasn't too bad. People were still actually embarking. There were still people coming on the ship. And talked to Geraldine, who was phenomenal, by the way. I asked to speak to her in private because I didn't want to be complaining in front of people, and explain the situation and that it was just frustrating. And I didn't feel like the way that it was handled was the Princess customer service experience that I had been so used to for this past year. And that I really wanted to talk to whoever was in charge of the restaurants to give them my feedback and to share my experience. And so she followed up with me twice that day, kept calling, let me know that she was working on it and that she wrote up, my situation. And the next morning, I did get a call from the head of restaurants. Claudio called me personally. And I was so honored and amazed that they followed through on the promise, and I appreciated it more than you know. And it completely changed how I was feeling. I had actually started looking at celebrity cruises for the first time, thinking that I may need to diversify myself out of Princess, which I'm still not 100% against. But I had never looked at cruises on other cruise lines because I have such good deals and perks with being elite on Princess. But for the first time I did, because I felt like I just didn't feel like I mattered. It just didn't feel like, again, the Princess way of working. So he listened, and I said I was a leader in my previous life and would want this feedback, right? That's the only way to know how things are really going. You may not always get this feedback on a survey, but I need you to really, truly understand my experience. And not only did he apologize and really listen, but he personally said, make a list of the restaurants and the time of where you want to go this entire time that you're on the Star Princess. I gave him a list, and lo and behold, he came to find me the next night at dinner. I was at Ume Teppanyaki hanging out, having some stir fry, and he came to the table to come find me, to introduce himself to me, and asked for my list. I was shocked. Honestly, he's an officer with a lot to deal with. He's in charge of all of these people in restaurants and service, right? A lot on his plate, as you can imagine, and made the reservations himself personally. I was so touched, and still checks on me at different places that I'm at for dinner, even when I'm at the Sanctuary Club, because I just feel like some low-key chicken. He's there to come say hello and make sure everything's going okay. And that's phenomenal. And I think my feedback to you is nothing's perfect. Even if you're living your dream, life is never going to be perfect. I think it's important that you share your feedback in a professional and kind way. I think it's important for any business to know what's going well and what's not going well. And I think you'd be so surprised at how accommodating and helpful people can truly be when you do it in a nice way. And I'm just so happy that it was handled this way. I think it's important that you share your feedback on the surveys and share your feedback with guest services, or ask to speak to one of the managers that you find on board, because they do take your customer satisfaction very seriously. It's an important part of their culture as a company, and I truly appreciate and respect that. So if you're having challenges with your dinner reservations, you're having challenges with the room, right? You're having challenges with the excursions that you went on, whatever experience you might be having is not meeting your expectations, feel honestly empowered to share that feedback and check to see if there is anything that could be done to make your experience more positive. Because I find that 99.9% of the time, something can be done. You just need to not suffer in silence and really share that feedback. And I think it's important for businesses to know what your experience is like, because continuous improvement, I think, is important for most people and for most companies. So if you have any other tips on how you've been able to reserve your dining room tables, or other challenges that you've had along the way, or questions that you might have that I can help you with, please feel free to leave those in the comments. I'm happy to help. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find someone on the ship that does, that can get that answer for you. And I hope that your reservation process goes smoothly. And because remember, bougie on a budget, we don't want to waste any time, and we want to have the best experience at the best price so that we're not wasting time or money. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the cruise one day.